everything I thought I ever wanted when I turned 40. I had a husband who adored me, I had 3 fantastic, beautiful, brilliant children, I had a lovely home, I had a career that had taken off more than I ever imagined it would, and a great group of friends. So why was my husband telling me that he didn't think I was 100% happy? Initially, I really fought back against his comments, telling him I was happy, I had everything I wanted. What more could I want in life to make me happy? And while all of that was true, he was right. I wasn't feeling 100% fulfilled. It wasn't the case that I was unhappy, it wasn't the case that I was depressed, but when I really thought about it in the weeks after his comments, I had to admit I wasn't feeling fulfilled. So I did a lot of soul searching in the weeks and months that followed. Initially, I wanted to work out why it was I felt like this. Now, I spoke to a lot of my friends and opened up and told them how I was feeling. And I was struck by the solidarity there and how many of them that I looked at and I thought they had everything and they had the ideal lives and everything they could and I could have possibly wished for, but they were telling me the same things. They were also feeling like something was lacking in their lives. Now, if I felt like that, and so many people I know and love felt like that, I'm guessing that you also might feel the same way. So I'm going to talk about in this video how I went about working out why I was feeling that way and what I am doing to change things in my life. So firstly, I did a lot of personal soul searching, a lot of thinking about where I had come in the recent years, how life had come to be where it is now, and what I had, my kind of lot in life. And I felt super grateful for it. But then I had, as I said, lots of conversations with my friends, with people I knew, with acquaintances, and that opened so many doors to me. So I would urge you to do the same and have those open and honest conversations. Sure, some people might wonder what on earth you were talking about, but my experience was so many people felt the same way, but also importantly, they had some really great ideas as to how I might change things up in life. And I feel like getting that other perspective from people that I know and love, but also from people who were perhaps connected to me, but a little bit removed from me. That was so important, and I feel like that advice may be more valuable than the advice and sympathy that I got from my friends and family, because the people that know and love you the best, they want to reassure you that everything is fantastic in your life, and they want to give you that kind of oomph to kind of pick yourself up and keep going. But what I felt like I really needed was some ideas to give me a different direction of travel and not just be satisfied with where I was in life, although I definitely wanted to feel that way, but give me something which I could work towards to improve how I felt. So I was having brunch with a friend who introduced me to somebody that she knew and loved, and this person had, I guess, one of those ideal lives. She was a very successful lawyer, she'd built her own law firm, and she seemed to have so much confidence and so much going for her that following the event, I asked her if I could meet her for coffee and pick her brains. Now, Nat of like 10 years ago probably would never have done that. I would never have asked somebody I didn't know well to have this kind of conversation with me. But what I have learned in recent years is no one will think you are ridiculous and silly, no questions are stupid, and people honestly really value when you want to seek their advice and counsel on topics. And this person was just the same. It took a little while to get the date in the diary, but I had such an interesting lunch with them. And I told them how I was feeling and I asked them about their journey. So this wasn't just about me dumping my problems on somebody I didn't know very well and trying to get them to sort it all out, but I wanted to know what their experience had been in getting to where they are now. Now, of course, there's so many people who seem like they have the most ideal life, and no one's life is quite ideal. Everyone has their problems, everyone has their issues, and understanding the challenges that this particular person had experienced on their way to achieving the success that they have now was really, really helpful, and a reminder to me, I think, that I need to take more risks in life. And I think the older that I have got in life, the less risks I have been willing to take. And I think this is going to be common for a lot of people when they reach midlife. The younger you are, the more risks you take, the more time you have for things to work out, and the less you have to lose, I guess. The older you get, the risks seem so much higher. The less time you have perhaps to work, claw back in a career, and you just have so much more in stake when it comes to, the mortgage, the kids, and everything else. You feel like all that responsibility on your shoulders, you just have to keep your head down and keep plugging away. And I think this is one of the problems for me, and why I was feeling unfulfilled, and why a lot of my peers are feeling unfulfilled in their 40s. We've got to a certain point in our career, we've got married perhaps, we've had children, we have all this additional responsibility, we have bills to pay. We can't simply jack in our jobs and go and pursue an interest, for example. So we're on that treadmill of life, and it's not a bad life, right? These are the lives that we wanted to create. But we're getting up each day, getting the kids ready for school and nursery, we go to work, we meet with our colleagues, and we have all these additional responsibilities. Perhaps we're caring for elderly relatives. Add to that all of the other responsibilities that come with having a family, all of the extracurricular activities the kids have, all the kids' parties. You're gonna work in seeing your relatives, occasionally seeing your friends, and that doesn't leave a lot of time left over for ourselves, for our own interests and our hobbies. And I think in that mix, we often lose sight of what we want in life. Now, in the process of building my career, of getting married and having children, I definitely lost sight of what I wanted in life. And it almost feels just too selfish to admit that there are things outside of your spouse and your children and your career that you want for yourself. But the more I have worked on building up those other areas of my life, interests and hobbies for myself, the more I see that that is simply not the case. It is never selfish to work on yourself. And I know we talk a lot about self-care very flippantly, and I don't feel this is necessarily falling into the book of what we commonly perceive as self-care, like taking yourself out for lunch or having a bubble bath and all of that, kind of all the fluffiness that we associate with self-care. But this is, in a way, self-care. This is perhaps the big fundamentals of self-care. It is having a sense of yourself outside of your work commitments, outside of being a parent or a carer or whatever that looks like for you. And ask yourself this: do you have that sense of self outside of your responsibilities? Because if you don't, then you could be walking along the same path that I was for many, many years. And I'm telling you, it will catch up to you. You get to a point where you suddenly realise that you have lost sight of yourself. So after the initial conversation that I had with my husband, where he told me he didn't feel like I was happy, it took me months to realise what it was that I was missing. And that was that I needed to build something that was just mine. Now, I didn't want to do this in a way that would negatively impact my career, my family, of course, my children. I needed life to continue as it was, but building in those elements for myself. So then I did basically a big brain dump of all the different things that I felt like I might want to do, without considering how I might do them or how they might impact on my life and my responsibilities. So I'm talking about kind of arty ventures, running, any kind of health thing that I wanted to do. And I use running very loosely because I walk, okay, but it's still running. But anything that I wanted to do, baking, cooking, experimenting with new recipes, getting on top of the house, does that count as doing something for myself? I don't know. But all of the things in life that I felt like I was potentially missing out on. And then I really thought long and hard about prioritising them. What did I feel most strongly about? What was I most interested in? And some of these things came with more risks and time constraints than others. Some would give more to me, I felt, in terms of feeling more fulfilled than others. So I whittled it down to two things that I was particularly interested in building for myself. One of those was starting a beginners run-walk club locally to me, which would be aimed mainly at women and getting women out run walking and feeling safer together. Because sadly, for a lot of us, and a lot of my experience is that I often don't feel safe, particularly when I'm running at night. Now, secondly was YouTube. I had been dabbling in YouTube for 2.5 years on and off, and I'd had big gaps where I hadn't been making content for YouTube. And leading up to this time, I'd had one of these big gaps where for months I hadn't been putting anything on YouTube and I had basically given up. But that had left me with quite a resentful feeling. So I looked at these options and they both came with risks and time commitments. In terms of my life, where I am now, currently in life, it's just started tipping it down. So you might get a bit of background noise of rain, but hopefully it'll be like add to the ambiance of the video. When it came to starting a run walk club, I would have to commit myself not just to building it, but to turning up, showing up for it at the allotted, designated times each week. And I felt like really that had to be a minimum of twice per week to build a successful run club. And that was something that I would really struggle to commit to right now in life. So at the time of making this video, I have a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, although she turns 2 tomorrow, so we call her 2. But I have very young children and a very demanding job. I work 4 long days a week as a lawyer. My job has quite a heavy element of client entertainment, which I do really enjoy, but I never know from week to week when I will be around. When I recently tried to join an existing run club myself, I found it hard to commit to turning up once per week. So I knew I would find it really hard in committing to turning up for a club of my own twice per week. And I didn't want to start something and let people down. But I also knew there was a big call for it in my local area, and I personally felt really called to create this. So it's still definitely on my list of things that I would like to consider in the future, perhaps when my kids are just that little bit older than they are now. YouTube felt like something I was much more drawn back to, but I didn't have a plan there of where I wanted to take my channel, how I wanted to grow it, what I wanted it to look like in the future. But I knew that I had really enjoyed creating content. So I came up with a plan for myself where I would strip back the creation process for YouTube. So in terms of creating the videos, in terms of editing and uploading the videos, I had to take that whole process back to basics in order for it to work for me. So I had previously been recording all of my content using a camera, editing it on software on my laptop, and it took me like days, if not weeks, to edit a video. So I am now totally like stripped back in that process. I am recording everything on my mobile phone, editing everything on my phone, and just making that whole process more streamlined in order that I can continue with it and build something for myself. I'm also aiming to treat it more like a side hustle business in terms of my thoughts about it. And I feel like that's really important, basically in admitting to myself that it is something I am genuinely interested in and want to put some energy into. I also really love that in building and growing a YouTube channel, I can do that around my family, around my children, around my commitments, and it doesn't impact on my life to such a degree. Like I can be more flexible with it. If I know that I have like half term coming up, I'm gonna have the kids at home more and I'm not gonna be able to record as many videos, then I can factor that in and I can record them in advance when I have a more clear week, and I can edit stuff when I have time after the kids are in bed. I don't have to feel guilty, because if you're a parent, you know, like mum guilt, dad guilt, it's a real thing. You feel pulled in so many different directions. And I can honestly say that since I have committed to this, that actually acknowledging what I want, that I want to build something for myself, and committing to a process, actually committing to putting out content every single week. And I know there are risks here, and perhaps the channel will go nowhere and people won't want to watch, but I have to believe that if I am interested in creating the content, there will be an audience out there who is interested in listening and who might feel like me and really need something in their midlife, in their 40s or older, that they can call their own. Now, I'm not for a second suggesting that if you are feeling unfulfilled in your midlife, that the answer to it is creating a YouTube channel, but I seriously think that it is something to consider. And if you're here watching this, then you're already interested in consuming content on YouTube. And that's how I started to be interested in it. Initially, I was consuming content, and then I started to think, I feel like I could do that. I could create content about something that interests me, and maybe someone else will get some value from it, like I get value out of the things that I watch. And I really have enjoyed that process of finding myself via YouTube over the last 2.5 years. I also think that as a creative person, which I definitely consider myself to be, YouTube is a massive creative outlet. Now, there is some creativity, I suppose, connected to my job as a lawyer, but really a corporate job like that and a job in law is not the most creative job. And it's certainly not like the ideal job, I think, for a creative person. I do love it, but I need that creative outlet. I used to draw and paint a lot, and that is much more tricky to do around children, whereas creating YouTube videos is much easier. If you're feeling unfulfilled in your midlife, I hope that this video inspires you to take action. I would urge you firstly to start talking to your peers and start talking to people who are perhaps connected to you but not directly involved in your life, that could give you some honest advice on the direction that you might want to take your life to. Take some risks. There are risks with everything that we face in life, and it's so normal, so easy and understandable to take the path of less resistance. But often that path, whilst the common path and the path that most of us just follow in our day-to-day lives, is not going to give you that fulfillment that you are seeking. But in taking risks, which I am putting myself out there on YouTube, maybe people don't like it, maybe I get negative comments, maybe I get knocked back, maybe it goes nowhere. But in taking that risk, at least I know that I have tried. And I think that is so important, that feeling like you have done everything you can to put yourself in the best possible position that you can in life to live that happy and fulfilled life. If you're interested in starting your own YouTube channel, I urge you to watch this video where I talk about the benefits of starting a YouTube channel in your middle life. I will see you over there. Bye.